You ever stop to think how Impel Down makes absolutely no sense, like architecturally, physically, romantically? Well, maybe not that last one, but what if I told you it's all because Impel Down might actually be an ancient tower built long before the flooding of the world in order to slay the gods, steal their power, and its true purpose might actually reveal to us one of the biggest questions in all of One Piece: the location of Laugh Tale itself. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Or I guess maybe you did based on the thumbnail and title. I hope so. But seriously, I've been hung up on this specifically for quite a while, and I think I might have just made a breakthrough. Not by myself, of course. Shout out to Reddit and my team who helped craft this into a solid theory, but the more I look at Impel Down, the more I realize, this thing could not have been built anytime in the modern era. Like, how in the world would you even begin to construct this thing from the sea floor up and then drain everything around it? It's technically possible, I guess, with the fishmen and all, but it's also in the calm belt surrounded by the sea kings. However, now we do know that there used to be a civilization way before the current world. There were more than one, at least two. And both of these were flooded at some point in history, which made it very clear to me that Impel Down, of course, makes now way more sense as an ancient tower building instead of a somewhat recent development that kind of, again, doesn't really make sense. And I'm actually gonna go a step further and confidently say that this tower probably isn't a product even of Joy Boy's era, the second world, and better yet, it couldn't be based on everything we've gotten revealed about it, so I think it's even older, much older, like your mom, and it's from the first world, the era of Nika. Sorry about that one. After all, we did learn through Vegapunk, the Wano arc, and if you want to go even further back during Jinbei's cover story, that there is a ruined big civilization or civilizations at the bottom of the current ocean. And it ain't your mama civilization either. This place was hella advanced. Now, based on the mural from chapter 1138, you know, the one that looks like a cosmic fever dream painted by a god who was on acid and also on mushrooms, we can pretty confidently place those ruins, and by association Impel Down, that they're either from the first or second One Piece world, at least 800 years old, right? It just makes way too much sense considering it's a skyscraper underneath the damn ocean. And to prove that, we're gonna take a trip through hell itself, and then I'm gonna scoot us back up all the way Gurren Lagann style, since I believe this tower once actually pierced the heavens itself. And what made me realize this was the actual design and architecture of Impel Down as a structure, because both inside and out, it's not just a cool prison where you can torture people, it's not that random. Oda pulled some pretty famous myths, stories, and legends to create this thing, and those origins, I think, reveal its mythological architecture too, you know, the role that it has in the story. And once you see those blueprints, they'll be burned into the back of your eyeballs as if you were staring at the sun itself. So let's start with the single, probably most obvious and well-known comparison, which is Dante's Inferno. In Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, we get the first iconic portrayal of the 9 circles of hell, each one representing a deeper level of sin, punishment, and despair. It's fiery, chaotic, and actually weirdly bureaucratic now that I read a little bit more into it. The place is basically the HR department for the devil. Very odd and very fun, but in his story, hell is broken down into 9 distinct levels, which are as follows. Limbo is the first circle, and it ain't a fun game where you climb under a bar. Limbo's punishment is actually eternal separation from God, though they are not directly tormented. The second circle is where souls are swept endlessly by a violent dark storm. The third circle is gluttony, where poor souls are tormented by freezing rain and mud in foul-smelling mires, kind of like a swamp, but way worse since it smells like a butthole. Then in the fourth circle, greed, souls are forced to push heavy boulders against each other in a constant futile struggle. Very Sisyphus-esque, I guess. Anyways, by God, I think. Then this is followed by the fifth circle, wrath, where souls are trapped in the muddy waters of the river Styx, fighting each other in anger. And I mean, I would be pretty angry if I was stuck eternally in muddy waters. After that, we've got floor 6, hearsay, where souls are trapped in flaming tombs. Big lucky number 7 is violence, where various punishments take place, such as being boiled in a river of blood or being on a burning plain of sand under a fiery rain. Though I will say if I'm being boiled alive, it doesn't really matter to me if it's blood or water, but I guess, you know, stylistically, it's a touch. I think. Anyone who doesn't do their taxes goes to circle 8, fraud, full of a bunch of mini rings that each punish a different type of fraud, and at the darkest, deepest depth is treachery, the 9th circle of hell, and this is the lowest and most severe circle, where souls are frozen in a lake of ice and big man Satan is at the center. Now, this was a lot of exposition, and you might wonder, was this even relevant, Manu? Because Impel Down doesn't even have 9 circles, it has 6 floors, or 7 if you're counting newcomer land, but numbers are just really numbers here. Not everything needs to line up perfectly with the math. It's really all about the themes, obviously. If you look into it a little harder, okay, perfect, thank you. You got it. Then we can actually see that the naming scheme and punishment system are pretty much identical. We've got level 1, Crimson Hell, level 2, Wild Beast Hell, level 3, Starvation Hell, Burning Hell, Freezing Hell, and finally level 6, Eternal Hell. And I gotta say that's kind of my favorite tier, honestly, since it's got the most badass name and it's specifically the place where even the world government pretends that the prisoners don't even exist like I do with all my haters. So as you can see, all these hells do line up, and the building structure of descending tiers is taken straight from that idea. And as you can see, this stuff isn't exactly subtle. Oda stealing Dante's jam bar for bar, and I'm pretty cool with it since Impel Down freaking rips. One of my all-time favorite arcs in the story. But what is much more important for today's video is that the prison itself seems to perfectly match Imu's whole, well, kind of everything really. The shadowy ruler who lurks in darkness, controls minds, manipulates fate, and radiates "give me your soul, here's a golden fiddle" type of energy thing, you know? Imu's horns, wings, shadowy figure, all of it screams fallen angel. And based on how they interact with Zebek during God Valley, I really think it's pretty clear that Imu was a being who once reached towards godhood, but was forced to rule through fear instead. Like, you know, literally eternal hell being a place where people's histories being erased. That's kind of Imu's bread and butter move. It's called the Void Century and Ohara, by the way. Plus, let's not forget that Imu's pretty recently deleted Lucia Kingdom, obviously. Then we have Frozen Hell, which, excuse me, we're talking about a guy who was introduced with their big walk-in head freezer. And you can pretty much tie in every single one of the layers of Impel Down to a method that Imu uses to mess with people. I mean, come on, even Impel Down's weak-biled warden plays into this sort of symbolism because his design isn't just big guy with poison powers. He's a big guy with poison powers that rules hell with his horns and wings and demon-like tail. I think that Magellan might even be Imu's biggest fan, low-key, if he knows about the Big King. Also, quick side note, with that in mind, kinda wonder if he's related to that big Yeti-looking Holy Knight at all that we got recently here, right? Could explain his insane power, and also the designs are kind of giving me Goth Sun a little bit. But sorry, I got ahead of myself here. What I really want you to take away from this section is that currently, Impel Down mirrors Imu's current position in the world as a great devilish being. This is their hellish prison, but I don't always think that Impel Down was supposed to be that. And to really understand what I'm getting at here and why I think it's a tower meant to slay gods, we do have to climb all the way back up, because while Dante's Inferno describes the descent, the Tower of Babel myth actually explains the true purpose of Impel Down, I think. Now, the Tower of Babel, or Tower of Babel, I'm gonna say, is one of the oldest and of course most iconic stories in human mythology, dating at least all the way back to good old Mesopotamia. So you know, it's gonna be Fertile Crescent time, yo, and since it's possible that you've never heard about it, let me sum it up for you real quick here. It goes something like this. Humanity, united under one common language, decided to build a tower so tall it would reach heaven itself. The purpose was to rank amongst the gods and ascend to divinity itself, but capital G God, in his divine oh hell nah attitude, struck them down and scattered them across the entire world, which is kind of supposed to be the origin of people having different languages all across the world. Now, Does that sound at all familiar? Well, probably if you watch a little bit more of my content or are a little lore junkie freak like I am, but this is just exactly how the Harley text describes the first One Piece world. It's an absolute era of hubris where humanity got way too advanced and way too greedy and tried to touch the Forbidden Sun. Their ambition reached way too far, and after the enslaved people of the world started praying, Nika showed up to whoop some butt. The parallel is really almost perfect, and the picture to me at least seems to be pretty clear. Emu or some other ancient king built Impel Down up as a tower to tap into the Forbidden Sun and then kind of fumbled the ball a little bit when the slaves that they gathered rebelled, praying to Nika. Now this made it pretty clear that Oda was really pulling from this very story, and so I wanted to dig a little bit deeper here and see if maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit more sneaky hidden lore in the story of Babel. So let me babble a little bit here. Also, cut me some slack. I just love pushing my Bible piece agenda. I do know that Oda loves that stuff, so I like digging into mythology and stuff. And I did find a little bit of a nugget that actually got me very excited, kind of digging more into this overall idea. And no, it's not a Chick McNugget, no matter how badly I would want to have those just popping up when I look for lore, but instead all I get are these stupid lore nuggets, which kind of taste like cardboard. Now, from what I can gather, the Tower of Babel was inspired by a real existing structure, the Burj Khalifa, the Etmenaki, the Great Ziggurat of Babylon. Ziggurat is not an alien, by the way, it's another name for a temple, and this Zig's name literally means Temple of the Foundation of Heaven and Earth. Now, these two forces are, of course, everywhere in One Piece. I actually made way too big of a video on that in the big Bagua theory I dropped recently. In case you're curious, link in the description below, but for now, it's even more clear-cut since Heaven, or in this case, the Sun God and the Earth God, are the two gods from the first One Piece world, so it is really all coming up bubble now, baby. And get this, in case you're one of the haters who doubt me here, Etmenaki had 7 levels, which is exactly how many levels Impel Down has when, yes, you include Newcomer Land, which I think, is a legit level. So haha! Turns out that the math does work too. I've always said that numbers and math are very important to Oda. Ignore what I said earlier about numbers and math in One Piece. I didn't say anything. And the cherry on top here, Etmenaki wasn't just any old temple. It was a place of worship for the god Marduk. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it sounds bad as if you do. Marduk, the divine king who slayed the primordial dragon goddess Tiamat to create the world. He did this using his own serpent dragon, a symbol of order conquering chaos. And loreheads, you already know what this one means. I present to you, once again, the mural from chapter 1138, and on the right side we see what seems to be the first One Piece world. I personally do still believe that this interpretation is correct, so even if you disagree, let's just put that aside for now while you digest the theory, right? Let's hear it first. And here you've got Nika, the sun god, I think, represented as a massive dragon, and I think that it's Nika since it's fighting the giant serpent and Earth King, and the Harley text describes this battle as one between the serpent and the sun god. I really don't know how else to cut it anymore, dude. The imagery, I think, is pretty on the nose and unmistakable. I'm pretty sure that this is just Oda's retelling of this Mesopotamian ancient myth, a divine war between sun and earth, order and chaos, light and darkness. Now, Big Dog Marduk's tower was built as a monument to his power over the dragon Tiamat. But clearly that ain't the case in One Piece. I'm saying that this tower was built to rob from a god, not to honor the sun god. And so, what does that make Impel Down? Well, to me, it's pretty clear. Impel Down was the greatest tower of the original first world of One Piece, even long before Joy Boy ever was born. A structure originally maybe not built as a prison, but as a ladder to claim the Forbidden Sun itself. Emu, or maybe just some POS evil king of the Nerona family, built it in order to reach godhood. So that they could actually capture the eternal flame that Nika embodied or protected. And I think that this lines up with the physical design of the building too. Again, architecturally, the top of Impel Down is very much shaped like a brazier, a sort of torch holder. I think it looks like it's quite literally built to hold fire. And if that's true, then Nika, the laughing, dancing, rubbery chaos god, wasn't just a hero, he was the destroyer of Babel. It's Babylon. Okay, that makes sense. Which actually could line up very well with Tiamat's role in the Mesopotamian myth too, but also with the giants of Elbaf saying that Nika was both a destroyer and a liberator. A terrifying power from the ancient world. The one who stopped the world itself, Imu, from taking what wasn't theirs. And regardless, the story as I see it is that humanity was trying to seize the sun itself, but then the god of freedom stops them, ironically, which leaves the world shattered. It's covered in death and darkness, which might have actually been a massive flood, and this Tower of Babel structure sinks beneath the waves. Maybe also darkness because, Nika took the sun back himself, and then Imu repurposes it into the world's greatest prison, like, all the great world leaders seem to do, I guess. And yet, all of these cool answers obviously raise some other very big and important questions. If this tower once was supposed to hold the Forbidden Sun, where did that power go? Like seriously, what happened to the stupid big ball of fire in the mural? We do know that Vegapunk remade it a little bit, or sort of, and feels a lot of guilt since it can flood the world, but also, it's probably not as potent as the real deal. He even revealed the world was flooded, buried under 200 meters of ocean water, so why did it happen? When did it happen? And where is that freaking Mother Flame? Eternal Flame. Mother Flame is the one that Vegapunk made. Eternal Flame. Today is not my day. Anyways, can the Tower of Babel myth actually explain that too? And I think, sort of. Almost, maybe. And I did find an answer that I think you will want to hear. Because I don't think that Nika was just punishing the Earth God. I think that maybe they were containing the eternal flame itself, and the secret to that lies not in the tower, but where it's located. Let's look at my friend Tekking's favorite thing, geography. Impel Down sits at the one corner of the Triangle of Justice, alongside, of course, with Enies Lobby and Marineford. All three of these locations are connected by these massive, almost nonsensically huge gates of justice. These mysterious titanic monoliths so huge, they look like they might belong to a completely different era altogether. And as we know, gates don't normally just happen for no reason. They normally surround something like, say, yes, an ancient giant kingdom? Okay, cards on the table. My idea here is that Nika, after stopping Imu or whoever tried to harness the Forbidden Sun's power, decided the only way to save the world was to drown it, but the ancient peoples of the world saw this coming and built the Noah to survive. And then they rebuilt society inside the gates of justice themselves. After all, we do seem to see the Noah on the first era of the mural, which means that it's way older probably than we all previously thought, and it would only exist if a massive flood had already occurred or was about to happen. And so this new civilization, the second One Piece world, was built on the first one's remains, and this would also perfectly set the stage for Joy Boy to go do whatever the hell it is that he actually did during the Void Century. A world flooded by Nika, that stuff just calls for Mr. First Pirate here to set the seas, leaving the ancient kingdom as he goes and uncovers the story of Nika and Imu. Or maybe Nika flooded the world, sealing away Imu, and then dumb as Joy Boy in true Luffy fashion accidentally unleashed Imu back on the second world, ruining the kingdom that he originally came from. That could be a twist. A kingdom that might have been led by none other than the now infamous Davy D. Jones, who, kind of probably was a former king of the world that Imu doesn't like to acknowledge. Alright, there's a lot to digest here, so let me now break it down and maybe you'll see where I'm actually coming from, but I kind of wanted to lay it all out for you. And actually, Enies Lobby, which as you know has a pretty special place in my heart on this channel, was my first big clue. So, let's talk about some holes here. Enies Lobby's pit makes to this day no physical sense, also no romantic sense. Now the water cascades into it endlessly but never really fills up apparently. That is not how holes are supposed to work in my expert hole opinion as a holologist, and a huge green flag for this theory. The island has eternal sunlight even though it's, again, geographically and physically impossible. I mean, Forbidden Sun? eternal sunlight. Those things do sound like they would go hand in hand, man. There ain't no other way to cut it, really. Unless you do cut it a different way. Good for you, I guess. Let me know in the comments. But this made me wonder, what if the Forbidden Sun is actually above Enies Lobby itself? That could explain the permanent sunlight, but it wouldn't explain the giant island-sized hole underneath it. But you know what might explain it? If, I don't know, maybe another giant structure was originally built there by the Void Century Ancient Kingdom that was then destroyed as well by Joy Boy or the weapon Uranus, or Joy Boy using the weapon Uranus. After all, we do know that the Eternal Flame was a main power source during the Second World, so, you know, it wasn't fully gotten rid of at this point, but maybe after the Tower of Babel idea didn't work, it got actually moved, and ironically, I think it would really work well if Impel Down ended up being where Nika sealed Emu in the ancient past. And then Joy Boy, in his Luffy's curiosity, found that tower on the outskirts of his flooded civilization and accidentally unleashed Emu, who then maybe tried to reclaim the Forbidden Sun once again for themselves and succeeded at first since the structure was already built this time around at the site of Enies Lobby. But then yes, I do hear you. What about the gaping, deep, massive hole, Manu, you holologist? And to that, I do say, dude, chill out. That is too many descriptors for the hole, and to answer you, I'd say that Joy Boy might even literally have like slam dunk shoved that whatever was formerly at Enies Lobby straight into the ground, forming the giant hole that is Enies Lobby today. Or again, more likely, he used Uranus in a desperate move to destroy it and keep Emu from re-reaching the Eternal Flame. After all, Emu used what is nearly confirmed to be Uranus to destroy Lulusia, and it does still look kind of like the exact same way, unless that hole is now closed, but it didn't look like it when we last saw it. Maybe, ironically, Emu may have gotten this idea to do this thing from Joy Boy or Davy Jones and decided to unleash it on Lulusia to get back at the Davy clan, since we do know that Enies and Teach did escape to the island. So maybe Joy Boy couldn't flood the Eternal Flame, but he could ensure that Emu couldn't access it by destroying their new tower. That way, Emu couldn't build another tower up on top of it because there is this giant big hole in it. Now, to be completely clear, I don't think that the OG Eternal Flame is just like hanging up in the sky. It's probably in space or something, maybe, but fixed in some place somehow, and that's the reason that Enies Lobby gets the eternal sunshine, or maybe connected to some of the Sky Islands things. Or maybe, as I've theorized before, it's the other way around, and deep under Enies Lobby is the eternal flame, but the water is what prevents Emu from claiming it once again. Honestly, either kind of works, only it's kind of weird that if the flame was under Enies Lobby, why would the light be coming from above? That's the only thing. But again, if the big issue was towers being built up to it, then shoving it, deep into the ground would kind of work wonders, I say. And actually, I might just double down on this idea, because not only do I think that inside those 3 gates of justice are the ancient kingdom flooded by Nika and Joy Boy, I think that Davy Jones and Laugh Tale might just be down there as well, because recently Oda's just been dropping these very subtle breadcrumbs about Davy Jones, who was an ancient king himself, and in the real world lore, Davy is a sailor cursed by the devil, trapped beneath the sea for all eternity, ruling over the lost souls of drowned men. Laugh Tale, on the other hand, is an island that's seemingly impossible to find and access, but somehow Roger did it and then laughed when he got there. So I do wonder, could the ancient kingdom be Laugh Tale? Not the first one to propose this, obviously, and is it actually sealed between these 3 gates? I really think that's a good chance, since this part of the world is still in the Grand Line, and I think it would just be incredibly hard for anyone to just casually stumble into it. Especially if part of the issue was that Emu specifically built a set of world government fortresses, the biggest ones that exist, around it, and you know what that means, everyone, right? Yes! Done Piece is back on the menu, boys. I very long thought that Laugh Tale is underwater, obviously, since it's a very elusive place, and all the Roger pirates seem to go into flood and ocean mode after they uncovered the island. Like, think about it. Rayleigh's sea bubble coating business would be key for anyone finding it. Scopper guarding the location where the story of Laugh Tale and the Void Century seems to be depicted. There's also Crocus, who quite literally lives inside a whale. I mean, it seems fairly clear that there is something underwater water that's important for the Straw Hat crew to eventually find, and it's probably got something to do with the Ancient Kingdom. And since Davy D. Jones is said to be sealed down at the bottom of the ocean, cursed by the Sea Devil, maybe Davy himself is also down there on Laugh Tale. Like seriously, like how crazy would it be if the reason Roger laughed was because the Davy D. Jones was the one telling him the story of the Void Century directly in person. And at the same time breaking the kind of bad news that without a sun god, ain't nobody gonna stop Emu anytime soon. I personally kind of love that, honestly. It would give a whole new context for Zebek and Teach's legacy too. Actually thinking about it, the reason Roger even found Laugh Tale, if it is down there, would have been because of Zebek. Like a small detail I think kind of goes uncovered outside of the power scaling space is that Rox specifically destroyed a Gate of Justice during his prime. Those things, as you can see here, are more than big. They're enormous and probably don't get repaired very quickly. Like imagine all of that was his setup to head into Laugh Tale, since the gates and the walls around it would have made it impossible to reach unless the gates were opened. Oh wait, okay, is that the joke that they are floodgates? That just hit me. Okay, and speaking of floods, whatever the truth here is, regardless of this Babel and Laugh Tale stuff, the giant flood that Vegapunk talked about is very crucial here. It's gonna play a big role in the endgame one way or another, and I do think that it might be worth digging deeper into Vegapunk's message, specifically where we learn about all these underwater ruins to see if we missed something. So if you want to join me for that and go really in depth, you can click on this video right here where I break it down in a lot of detail. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks to all of our great Patreons who support the channel. Really means the world. I can't thank you enough. And I will see you in the next video.